As the West grapples with attack after attack after attack from members of the religion of peace, or Islam, there is one country, industrial, an ally of the West, and even hosting U.S. military bases on its soil, that seems immune. Japan. While truck attacks that mow down people have been used in France and Germany, there have been bomb attacks and suicide attacks in London, Brussels, and Madrid. Execution squads, squealing Allah Akbar, murdered hundreds in Paris, Volgograd, Belsen, and Moscow. In fact, the new Muslim mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has said that Islamic terror attacks are just, and in his words, part and parcel of life in a big city. There are, however, exceptions, big exceptions, actually the biggest exception of them all. Tokyo, the largest city in the world. It, along with the other large cities of Japan, have not suffered the same fate of those in the West, where jihad is becoming ever and increasingly normalized. Why is this? Well, despite what you may hear from a certain white Canadian J-vlogger who has been vocal on my channel, she makes videos about pretzels and wigs and having a small face in Japan, and uses pronouns like we Japanese, and our Japanese history, and I, as a new Japanese, know everything about Japan, even though she's only lived in the country for 5 years. The reality of the situation, however, is very different, and is one of the core underlying narratives in Japanese culture, that of the binary dichotomy of the Japanese and the non-Japanese. This extends to nationality or appearance, but also to people who hold non-Japanese ideas or subscribe to non-Japanese religions. This must also be viewed through the lens of what it means to be Japanese and who is Japanese. Yes, there are foreign people that live in Japan. In fact, at present, there are 700,000 Koreans in Japan, 3/4 of whom are born and have grown up in Japan. Most are legally classified as resident aliens. And Koreans make up 85% of Japan's resident alien population. But even into their 4th generation, Zainichi Koreans, many of whom speak only Japanese and know of no other country, are still considered outsiders. This is in stark contrast to Western countries that are at the moment receiving immigration from some of the most backward countries on earth, and with many seeing their native populations being reduced to minority status in their ancestral homelands by mid-century. And despite what Sadiq Khan has alluded to, that all big cities, meaning all big cities that allow immigration from Islamic countries, must learn to live with jihad in the name of Allah, as one would weather a light shower, the largest city on earth has not had one jihadist attack. I'm not saying that Muslims are banned from Japan or that there are no Muslims in Tokyo. Japan does not keep statistics on religious or ethnic affiliation, as it has never been necessary. And while there are just under 2 million foreign residents, including permanent residents, Japanese scholars such as Hiroshi Koijima of the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research and Keiko Sakurai of Waseda University are the ones that have given the most accurate estimates, and they suggest a Muslim population of around 70,000, of which perhaps 90% are foreign residents and about 10% native Japanese. Thus, with the population hovering at about 0.05% of the overall population, Japan has very, very few Muslims. But even with that small number, Japan has seen the havoc, devastation, and violence that political Islam has brought to North America, Europe, Russia, Africa, the subcontinent, Western China, and Southeast Asia, and will not take chances with allowing Islam and Islamists a free rein in the name of tolerance and political correctness, as they are afforded in the West. And again, despite what vacuous weebos that play dress up and call themselves Japanese say, in Japan one is either Japanese or they are not. Ideas like Islamophobia or having an irrational fear of the doctrines of Islam and then equating that to a people and calling it racism is not recognized as a legitimate concept. The closest Japan has come to an Islamic terror attack was the brutal torture and murder of 7 Japanese, 5 men, 2 women, in Bangladesh in July 2016 when they could not recite passages from the Noble Quran. Thus, the ruling by the Supreme Court of Japan that dismissed a legal challenge to profile and conduct surveillance on Muslims that reside in Japan did not come as any surprise. The systematic profiling and surveillance of Japan's Muslim community only came to light in 2010 when over 100 internal Metropolitan Police Department documents were leaked online. The leak revealed that the police had compiled detailed profiles on 72,000 Muslims, including personal information such as bank account statements, passport details, and records of their movements. The leak also showed that police had at times planted cameras inside mosques, used undercover agents to infiltrate Islamic non-profit organizations, halal grocers, and restaurants. And when Japan's top court approved the government's blanket surveillance of its small Muslim community, the Japanese media was silent on the issue. There were no Antifa thugs marching in the street looking to commit violence and vandalism, not only because groups like this do not exist, but for the very simple reason that this was a non-issue domestically. In a country where even the concept of racism is still seen by many as a foreign idea, inapplicable to Japanese society, there were no marches, editorials, crying children on TV screens, nor calls for open borders. And yes, of course, not all Muslims are terrorists, but to deny that there is a specific problem emanating from Muslim communities worldwide would be willful ignorance of the most deadly kind. Japan's government has chosen to protect its citizens from the ravages of Islamic jihad that have taken tens of thousands of lives in the name of Allah since 2001. They have chosen to protect the lives of their citizens rather than virtue signal to others, as countries in the West seem preoccupied with doing since the turn of the century. Thus, pronouncements such as those by London's Mayor Sadiq Khan that Islamic terror attacks are part and parcel with living in big cities. He might want to visit the largest city in the world and see what they are doing right and how they are keeping their citizens safe.